House Energy and Commerce Committee, and Fred Upton of Michigan. Mr. Chairman, good to have you with us here.
It's always Fred, Lou. How are you?
Thank you very much for that. Let me turn to first the IAEA report on Iran. How concerned are you? Well, first, just how concerned are you by this latest report?
Well, there's a lot of concerns, and I have to say that just this week, I believe Eric Cantor has got new legislation that will strengthen sanctions on Iran if they continue to pursue this. We have to work with our allies in the region for sure, and I have to believe that the steps that we want to take, at least in the House, would be very promising to try and help foster that development.
This coming as the Obama administration has just hit 7 companies with sanctions, the Venezuelan state oil company, including an Israeli shipping company. Are these sanctions enough, and do you believe that they will have effect?
Well, we'll see. You know, Iran, when they look at what the Congress might be doing, they see Eric Cantor being the leader, the majority leader here in the House. Bipartisan co-sponsorship. It's joined with Steny Hoyer, so it really is strong bipartisanship. It looks like we are going to move. I would guess that we'll move legislation to strengthen the teeth of sanctions against Iran, to try and get them to the table and say enough is enough. This has got to stop. We cannot tolerate this expansion in the region.
I want to turn to domestic energy issues, if I may, Mr. Chairman. And the House Oversight Government Reform Committee releasing its report, blaming the administration, the Obama administration, straightforwardly for these higher gasoline prices. Do you agree with those conclusions?
A couple things. I think the American public understands what supply and demand is, what it is, what that theory is. We see now in the Gulf, which provides a third of our oil, production has slumped dramatically, over 100,000 barrels a day from what was predicted just last fall. And if you look at the long-term implications of not producing more in the Gulf, we know that we'll be as much as 500,000 barrels a day declining production in 2012 than what we have today. When you look at what's happened in Alaska, and again, we've had declining production there every year for the last 5-10 years. We look at efforts that we're trying in our committee now to move legislation to connect a pipeline with Canada called the Keystone Pipeline, connecting with the oil sands up in Alberta, coming down to the lower 48, 20,000 jobs. In fact, if we can produce this pipeline, bringing down as much as 1 million barrels a day, all of those things help with our supply. Knowing that we have an increased demand not only here but in the rest of the world, we've got to do that if we're going to have any control or handle on the increase in prices, particularly as we looked at the summer.
It's sort of stunning to see right now greater preparation being made, investment in infrastructure being made to export U.S. natural gas rather than convert, if you will, infrastructure in this country, particularly in heavy transportation, big trucks, semis, across this country, which could have, as Boone Pickens has pointedly driven home over the course of the last couple of years, which could have a huge impact on energy costs in this country, all to the benefit of the United States. Why is this occurring, and where is the leadership from this administration on this issue?
Well, a couple things. First of all, we shouldn't be picking winners and losers. That's number one. Number two, we are really blessed now in the last couple of years with enormous new finds of natural gas, not only in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, right, Pennsylvania, New York. We know that if there are some new regulations that EPA may propose, perhaps on fracking, which is the actual injection of material in to produce that right, gas, to break up the rock, it makes the natural gas worthless. But again, here is supply and demand. We've got enormous new fields of supply. It ought to be able to sell itself for vehicles and other different uses of it, which can then reduce our reliance on foreign oil.
Yeah, when you say we shouldn't pick winners and losers, I'm a great believer in free enterprise capitalism. I live it. I love it. I am also a person who believes that when the loser is the United States, it's time for us to step up and make some policy recommendations. And right now, substituting foreign oil would be a great idea, to bring in natural gas, other fossil fuels as well. It seems to me it's a straightforward proposition. That kind of winner and that kind of loser, when it turns out to be the United States, don't you think we've got to make some decisions?
We do. We need to encourage all new forms of energy. You know, in the next, before the end of the next decade, this country is going to need 30 to 40% more electricity, and yet we've gone nowhere, whether it be nuclear, clean coal, not much really in natural gas, a whole number of different things. Quite a racket here behind me. I don't know if you can hear or not.
I can't.
But,
I hope.
I don't know what's happening. I'm not going to turn around. But we need. They're coming after you.
They're going to get us both.
I don't know. But we need to look at American-made energy, and we also ought to be able to rely on our partners, but particularly the Canadians. I sat down with the Canadian energy minister last week. I'm going to meet with their ambassador, I believe, tomorrow. I've talked to the prime minister. Here's the perfect case with the Keystone Pipeline up in Alberta, where they convert oil sands to oil. And Canada has told us, look, if you don't make the decision soon, and we're really waiting for the State Department because it's got to cross the international line there, if you don't make the decision before the end of the year, we're going to look at building a pipeline, maybe to China, putting on a boat. Chinese are saying, we want it.
Well, Congressman, you're going to understand why the State Department would be taking some time. Canada's quite a distance from this country.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chairman,
we still remember the hockey game, right?
Well, indeed. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. Congressman Fred Upton.
Absolutely. Thanks.